Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Before we officially begin our chat with narrator Therese Plummer, we wanted to give you two things. One, spoiler potentials for Virgin River, as she is the narrator of the series, as well as those that may not have watched it yet or it's in entirety on Netflix. So again, just a heads up, we did discuss the series, the individual books a little bit, as well as the Netflix show. Personally, nothing I think that would ruin anything, but again, sometimes people love spoilers and some people don't want to know about them. So before you continue to listen, just keep that in mind. The other thing, trigger warning. We did discuss car accidents, drunk driving. Unfortunately, she was a victim of a drunk driver in a car accident that was very major and life-changing for her. And we dived into that conversation because we both believe it's important to have it, as well as to recognize that this is her new life and what that entails. So if you have any triggers regarding drunk driving, car accidents, a rehab, or anything like that, that are, if you've lost someone in a similar situation, please be aware that, we discussed that. That was towards the end of the episode. But again, it's part of a conversation that we both feel it's important. And now, on to the episode. Hi, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with narrator Therese Plummer. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the Audiobook Lovin series. How are you doing today?
Doing so well. It's a gorgeous day in New Jersey, and super happy to be with you.
Good. Yeah, we're having a good day here in Florida, too, so it's good that we're on the same coast, but so vastly different weathers. It's amazing how this world works. Well, thank you again for being here. We're going to have so much fun. I'm anticipating it. But why don't we start by having you telling us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you got started.
Oh, of course. Well, like you just said, my name is Therese Plummer. I've been narrating for about, going on 20 years. That's crazy. No, that's not that long, maybe 15 years. And I got into this industry totally by accident. I came to New York to do acting, film, and TV. And as I was pursuing that, I fell into an audiobook class at one of the Actors Connections where you meet casting directors. And my mom is an audiobook fanatic, and she was telling me all the time, you got to do audiobooks. And I was like, Mom, what is this audiobook thing? Like, I'd never listened to one. So it was funny. I found myself in a class with Robin Miles, who is also a phenomenal narrator, and I can luckily say a really good friend today. And she told me I should be doing this. And so I ended up taking a class with her and learning what goes into recording an actual audiobook, which is a lot of work. It's not cut and dry. Yeah. And so then I was lucky enough to land a couple gigs after that. And then I just continued to build relationships, and I've been working pretty steadily for the last 15 years. So super lucky. Yeah.
Way to go, Mom. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all mom. Moms are always right. It's so annoying.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's just the fact that she even knew about it at that time. Because I've always said that it seems like when you're in school, all you hear about when you grow up, things you want to be, and you hear things like teaching and doctors and lawyers and paramedic, which are all admirable careers choice, including underwater basket weaving. But we don't. We don't really get to hear that whole concept of, wait, I can do this stuff that I already love to do as far as reading and get paid.
Yeah.
And like, even think about the photographers. I can take pictures of the hot guys. No,
I never considered it. I never even thought it would be anything. I was just like, okay, fine. I'll just like, what is she talking about? And then yeah, it's like been a sustainable career for the last 15 years. So cool. So cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like looking through your catalog and I'm like scroll because you have like Audible is saying 480, but we also know that that number is probably completely skewed for various reasons and up and coming books. But the girl, that's a lot.
Those
That's
are
a
a lot
lot
of
of
books. Those are a
books.
lot of words, right? That's
Yes.
got a lot of words. Well, they're not, you got to go on. So I have a pseudonym because this is like the romance
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah.
So I record under Savannah Richards as well. And then for the extra, extra cheeky, the erotica stuff, it's under GC Von Clouts. GC stands for Girl Creeper. My friend and I came up with that when we were at Rockaway Beach one day. We were laughing. But so when I do the really dirty books, I do it under GC Von Clouds. So it's probably over 500 is my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I said for various reasons. Just because
Uh,
I know that many of the narrators and sometimes even authors will switch up the names based on the different genres, and not because they're ashamed. Okay, let's be honest. In some cases, they're not. Maybe that be their piece of cake, but the majority of the time, it's just to differentiate
that's it.
what kind of book it is and the audience.
That's it.
So
That's
yeah.
exactly right. It's just, yeah, it's like, okay, so if you get a Savannah Richards book, it's going to be, little PG-13 to rated R romance. For Therese Plummer, it's going to be like PG to PG-13. Although some of the murder books I've done have been pretty intense. Some of the vampire books I've done. Yeah, so I don't know if I can say PG. They've been pretty violent, so I don't know.
But it's interesting too sometimes when when they talk about those type of categories, they don't stop to differentiate that, violence, blood and gore
Right.
is in the same category as the sexy stuff, the body parts that go into the acts and the moans, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
It's
isn't
the
that
same.
interesting? I
Yeah.
know, that really is. It's like, oh, we'll say, it's erotica and stuff, but they never talk about the violence. It's like, that is so, I know. I've been thinking about that a lot more lately, especially with the current climate. I mean, it's not current, but it's just we're in a pretty big crisis in our country with, gun violence and everything happening. And so like, yeah, talk about the violent, like have a disclaimer at the beginning, right? Just,
Yeah. The trigger warning that romance has been
yeah.
known for like either praise for including them or like, why didn't you add that this was a trigger? And also, and I
Yeah.
know it's hard sometimes to know what would trigger something because there's so many different things out there. But just because I'm picking up a murder mystery doesn't mean that I don't need to know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
something else, that there's going to be a deeper dive into something, whether,
Like a
fill in the
deeper
blanks.
dive into suicide or, violence. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then the person can make a choice before getting like three chapters in and then being like fully triggered. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Or even enjoying it and just getting to that point where chapter 4 is what happens, or chapter 3, like you mentioned, or it could be in the middle or towards the end, and you're so invested in everything, and then all of a sudden it hits you out of nowhere because you
Yeah,
just read that one word or that one line, and it just like, nope, I can't.
that's it, man. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're really focused on the sex aspect, and again, that kind of goes back to our society and how that is looked, and it's still a taboo subject, and then the fact that it's usually romance is written by women for women and stuff like that. So
Right. Right. Right.
the world we live in. But I think it's
Uh,
a good conversation to have, and to just put it out there too, that it needs to include, whether it's a murder mystery, even if sometimes a cozy mystery that may not get totally into it, if it's insinuated, it needs to have a warning.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. A disclaimer, just like, hey, just so you know, this book involves blah, blah, blah. And if you're good, enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, some people don't have triggers or needed for that, but there's you always try to cater for that one individual just in
Yeah, you just be
case.
sensitive to that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, but thank you so much to your mom and to
Yeah.
Robin Miles too, which I love and adore.
Yeah.
To kind of get you on this path where we get to have over 500 books with a variety of spice. And I love also too how you busted out with the whole, like initials But instead of just saying MP, you literally had a name for it or a reason behind it. Because sometimes with pseudonyms they'll just throw something else in there. But the fact that you stopped and thought about it, that was like awesome.
Oh yeah, man. I was with my girlfriends at the beach and we were just like laugh. It was early, early in the days, and she was like, "You should come up with my friend Krista." She's like, "You should come up with GC." And we were dying, and then I was speaking in like the accent of GC von Clouds. You know what's really fun for me as an actor is just to have like a pseudonym and to have like a whole nother personality that can just, regardless of being raised Irish Catholic, I can just slip into Savannah Richards and then just bring these books to life in a way that maybe I couldn't as just Therese Plummer, you know? And so it gives me the freedom to tell that story and honor that author in a way, since I am in a pseudonym. And one time they had me go to a book signing at BookCon at Javits Center, and I was signing as Therese Plummer, and then I went in the bathroom and put my wig on, and I came out as GC Von Clouds, and it was so funny. They switched the thing, and they're like, and now was the. And that, oh my God, it was just so fun as an actor to like have that opportunity to do that. Really fun.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I think that that's one of the best things that if I could go back in time and potentially and then have to do, because I had this discussion because I originally wanted to do like write books myself, but went through it. I love my name. And I kind of like, okay, but I really love my name. Do I really want to change it? From an author perspective is what I was thinking. But now that I'm doing all this stuff with the podcast, I'm going, dude, the amount of fun I could have been having with wigs and just a different type of personality if I had chosen a pseudonym.
Right? It gives you that freedom, that full freedom. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
You can still do it.
I could.
If you want.
That. Yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah, but also it's like, okay, are you getting Vivi or are you getting, fill in the blank?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and the podcast is so cool. It's so awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a fun conversation. I love it when you guys do these variety of things because it's almost like having that different little aspect of you as part of that individual as well. And we're kind of getting to see a different side. But I also know that if I would have met you under GC Van Clouds, you would have been forever GC Van Clouds or Savannah, because I am not going to be that girl that outs you, okay?
I got you. I know. And people take it. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Because I mean, it's totally, we've had this conversation with other individuals that are completely open. I mean, they will put it on their website. They will have the one email that takes care of everything. But there's some other narrators and authors that use the pseudonym for a variety of reasons. But they don't want to be outed, and there's for whatever their reasons are, that's enough. It's the fact that they've said, this is who I am, that's it. That should be enough for the listeners and the readers. And so the last thing I want is to be that girl that accidentally outs somebody. So I'm like, the name I meet you under is what I'm going to call you. Now, granted, if we were at a book signing and I saw you in the wig, I'm like, JC's here. Get the drinks.
You would know. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. So good.
With you doing this since you were 5, starting this over 20 years ago, I'm sure your process of prepping a book has changed drastically, considering I'm betting that you used to get like actual paper manuscripts.
Oh my God. Well, Recorded Books used to actually give me the book. I had like an actual book, and I was like, this is so cool. So I'd sit down and I'd read my book. Nice. And then what they would do is they would make photocopies of the pages and for me to bring into the studio. And then we would, man, it has changed so much. And then the iPad has made things, and I annotate, and different programs like that has made things so much easier. But I miss pages, man. I miss books. I saw this guy reading a book on a plane once, and the pages were yellow, and they were like folded over and crinkly. And I had like a moment, I had a total moment where I was like, I miss books.
Well, the good news is that they're not going anywhere.
No, I know, but I spend so much of my time reading and performing on the iPad. Yeah, I mean, I'll open a book. This is so embarrassing, and I'll like find myself trying to trying to like do the page. Like,
Swipe.
yes, yes. And I just start laughing and I'm like, nobody saw that, right? Nobody saw that. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, it's so bad.
Oh, my thing, because I've done it a few times, has been when you're trying, because it's getting darker and you need to have something a little bit brighter and you're like swipe up to get to the menu. I'm going, it's not getting any brighter because it's a fucking book.
It's a book. It's an actual book. You need to go under a lamp.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I will be the girl though that if I love a book, whether I read it in like an ebook format or if I listen to it in audio, and I know that I want to get it signed by the author and or the narrator, I will go ahead and buy it just so I can put it in my bookcase because it's
Oh, that's
like precious.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. So
yeah.
you're like a huge audiobook fan, obviously, right? So like how long have you been listening to audiobooks?
Oh, funny enough, I found that my mom kept the vinyl Pinocchio from Disney storytelling, and it still
Oh,
works, and it's in perfect mint condition because that's how we were, back in the day. You kept things in good condition, people. You did not take
wow.
them things
Yeah.
for granted. But I've been reading books in general. I mean, my mom had a picture of me and sitting in the toilet reading a book as a 3-year-old. I think I was a toddler. And so I've always been the girl that reads the books, and then life kind of hit in my early 20s where I was like, shit, this sucks being an adult. Bills and working and making things end meet and stuff like that I stopped for a while, got back into it, and then said, hey, there's got to be a happy medium for me somewhere where I can still do what I need to do to life, but also enjoy the books. And then I'm like, that's right, they used to be known as books on tape.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. They used to be cassette tapes, man.
Yeah.
And like that, I had to do the intros for a bunch
Yeah.
of the. And I remember, do you know George Goodall? He's like the godfather of audiobooks. He's recorded over like 1,000 books and
Oh
he's just
goodness.
got the voice of butter. And so he recorded Les Mis and I had to do and you've reached the end of cassette one. Les Miserables, cassette two, Les Miserables, cassette three. And it was literally like 50 effing cassettes. And I had to stop after like 35 because I had hypnotized myself. And I was like, we need to take a break for 1 second. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. We were
Mhm.
laughing so hard. But the people, I don't know. I think people don't remember because everything's you download. It's so easy now. But yeah, cassettes, man, that was
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, and then it became CDs, and that was awesome too because I'm going, I can listen now in my car on my way to work.
That's right.
And then
That's right.
someone with your voice would be like, end of CD one, please
Yes.
insert CD two. And I'm going, crap, I forgot that this story is gonna be 36 CDs. Okay. Yeah.
We really have made advances. I mean, I guess Audible had
Absolutely.
their pulse, they knew, but it's just, oh man. I yeah, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
think I think it became when like MySpace kind of became more of a thing with the video sharing and the file sharing of
That's right.
music,
Yep.
that the concept of, hey, we can put all this stuff into one MP3 file
That's right.
and have someone grabs the item, in this case a book, and have it just be one click because
Yes.
we are busy. And
Yeah.
heaven forbid we misplaced that one CD or the cassette. We're going, where is it? I cannot go on with the next chapter unless I have chapter 5 and CD 20.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many. And the library, so my mom worked as a systems librarian, and so she would always get her audiobooks for free. And she, had a commute to work like a half hour or maybe an hour each way. And so she was constantly listening to audiobooks. And I remember being like, oh, it's like a librarian thing. It's just like a library thing.
That or
And
a mom thing.
I'm telling you, I was such a snot. And then she like, she still always has an audiobook in her car. And you know what? Honestly, she still listens to the CDs.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
good. It's okay.
She
I
has an
still
old Subaru and she's just like, and no, but I
nice.
love it. I love it. I'm like, Mom, you're old school and you are like the classic. You're like a
Mhm.
classic.
Well, I think it also goes back to similar how you were mentioning and talking about the feel of a book.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
that moment of being able to flip through the pages, and also, I mean, the paper also has a different smell depending on how old the book is. The one thing I love to do is go through, like, antiquing and thrift shopping, not only do I look for really unique items, but I definitely head over to the book section because I want to see the covers. I want to see the different materials that they used to use for the
Yes.
covers, but then also
Yes.
just go, ah, the smell of books.
The smell of books. Oh my God, totally. Oh my God, I'm gonna like open my bookshelf. I have like everything is covered in this beautiful piece of furniture. I'm gonna open it up and just look at my books when we're done here.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it goes in. I think it's a bit of people that don't stop to think about what goes into a book, from writing the story to getting it edited to getting a book cover to getting the artwork, to make it unique for those that are into marketing and branding, so
Yeah.
on and so forth. A lot of it goes into that. There's
Yeah.
a lot of different steps, and then add now it's an audio, and how does that work and how does that look? There's a lot of work that goes behind everything that is created, and to have that physical item in your house that you can pick up whenever you want to read it as a comfort read or as I need a mental health break and here I go to pick this book up and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
People have forgotten that there's still a lot of work, again, based on digital, stuff and stock imaging sites, but still it's the concept of picking that book up and then or listening to it and knowing that the author words are coming to life because of you guys, the narrators,
Mm.
and putting your own artistic spin on the characters, but still staying true to the vision that the author wanted for that individual character is
Oh,
a
yeah.
gift.
Well, and being able to talk to the author before going in and being like, "Hey, so these are your people. Talk to me. How did you hear her in your head? Like, how did you?" Because you want to honor that as much as possible, you know? Like, and a lot of times they'll be like, "Just take it." Like, it is such a gift to spend all that time to create a story and all these characters and all of this stuff, especially if it's a series. Oh my God.
You do a
And
lot of
then
series.
turn it over to the author, to the narrator, and be like, I trust you. Like, you are a professional performer. You will bring these to life. I feel like it's kind of sacred, right? There's this moment of trust where so if I get a chance to talk to the author before, during, or after and just really like assure them, like, okay, I have the vibe and the energy that you're talking about for this story, and now I really hope I make you proud. And a lot of times they're the ones who pick the voice, right? So you're already like who they want to tell their story. But I don't know. I think it's important to just be like, any accents, any pronunciations, like how did you hear this name said in your head? Because it's the worst when like you've spent all that time creating a story and then maybe you listen to the audiobook and they're like calling the main character the complete wrong name. I would be like, no, that's not it. It's not Theresa. It's Therese.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that also that's changed in the 20 years that you've been doing this. I'm going to assume that back in the day, you got the manuscript, the producer or the director provided you with any inside information that they
Yes.
may have gotten, and then you roll with it.
Yes.
Now, I think people have realized that it's a lot more of an intimate process, that, to get that information as far as the accents, the cadence of the character,
Yes.
whether they're happy-go-lucky or maybe they're a little bit more quieter and stew,
Yes.
all that fun stuff will help you provide that bringing to life moments as well.
Yes. Yes, that's such a good point. And the author in a well-written book, I mean, all like people ask, they're like, "Well, how did you come up with that?" And I'm like, the name Julia Whalen just did a really funny TikTok about
Yeah.
did you see that? Where
Oh,
she,
of course, it's Julia Whelan.
yeah, yeah,
I love
she's
her. I love
amazing.
her.
And she did the guy's voice, and she's like, but the author told her, gave her all the direction, exactly how to do that. And then because of her absolute gift and talent, she just, she was able to do it. And I wrote to her, oh my God, that was such a hot voice. Like you just made it. She laughed so hard. We have such a good time with like women doing men's voices. But yeah, they'll
Yeah.
tell us, they'll tell us it's husky or like throaty or like, like just he lost his breath or, he got choked with emotion or we get all our direction, in the script. So it's really important to just honor that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned how you guys as ladies doing the male voices is so fucking hot. There have been,
Mm.
Julia's one of them, you're another one. Nicole Poole is another narrator that when you guys
Mhm.
go a la male, I am like, I think I sent, yeah, I for sure have sent notes to Nicole, and I even think Julia, because I was like, I had to remind myself I was a straight woman there for a minute, and that you were a girl talking, because I was like, damn, that voice.
Right? Right? That's what I said when I saw her TikTok. I was like, Julia, damn, I might need to listen to one of your romance books. Holy shit, girl. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when you're gifted with like that deep voice. Gabra Zachman is one of them too.
Yes, she's another one. Oh my God, I love her.
She is so good. And Lauren Fortgang is
Yep.
another one. Have you listened to her? And Piper
Oh
Moody
yeah.
is also in
Oh
either
yeah.
seasons.
Oh my girls. Yeah, I've had that
So
the
good. I know. And
pleasure.
then Aaron Moon and Aaron
Yes.
Mallon and like, oh my God, I just would name all of them. Like Andy
Yeah.
Arndt, right? But then
Yeah. But they
speaking
all
of
have
like,
subtle differences. Andy,
that's yeah,
because
tell me.
she's known as like the girl next door type of
Yeah.
narrator as far as the voice goes. So she
Yes.
can do that very sweet neighbor, you can go get sugar from her, but also a little bit of that standoutish. She's new to town and she doesn't know who's friendly kind of thing.
Oh,
But so her males can also be, you know, like brooding, and she goes into this little lower register, and there's just something about how she says the words that does it as well, that you're going damn. And the same thing with like Erin Mallon, she'll go into it and it's like, dude, that's still you, Erin, that's still
and
you.
yeah, isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? You're like, are
Yeah.
there other people in the studio? Like, what is going? Well,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny too because, people in my life at times they're like they don't know who they're gonna get. Like I'm sure Aaron's kids are like, "Oh my God, Mom, who are you talking like? This is crazy." You just said Andy Arndt is like the girl next door. So
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to books that I do, what's my thing?
Oh, you are a lovely mix of going from the girl next door that has a secret to keep, and is she's
Ooh.
there because she's running away from something, and we don't know if that's mass murder or an ex, or
Ah.
or she just wants a fresh new start because she's done right wherever she was coming
Ah.
from. But then you can flip it and be that neighbor that that you can just run up to her and say, I need a cup of sugar, please. And she's like, sure, sweetheart, here we go.
Oh my
Yeah.
I
So
love
your
it. So there's some
range, yeah,
oh,
is phenomenal. Yeah, it's just one of those things where which is why I also love casting and helping authors cast the narrators, because I get that
mm.
insight. Okay, what are the characters like, and then I can start going through my mental list of like, check, check. Oh no, this one.
Oh
Oh,
my God.
yeah, and having that range, and it's not so much when I say range on the vocal tones, whether you have the high pitch to the low pitch kind of thing,
Right,
but
right.
it's how you use your voice, that instrument that you guys were gifted with. And Julia Wayland does the same thing. In fact, I knew and became aware of Julia as Julia, but also as her pseudonym, and I was majorly crushing on that pseudonym.
What's her pseudonym?
I'm not gonna tell you on air.
Oh, girl! I'll just text her and ask her who
Yeah,
is
I was like, hey, Viv would not devout this
not
information.
outed.
You're not outed. But no, it was just one of those things where she does a lot of romance and paranormal romance under her pseudonym, and I was like, loving it. But it's the range of how you use your voice, whether it's the cadence, it's the accent work, it's also the knowing that kind of character. Are you the neighbor that can give you the sugar, or are you the handyman that can fix anything except for your broken heart? uh,
Ah!
but damn knows he gonna try.
My
Or
friend
the
is
murderer,
or the murderer. Oh God. I love those. I did
Oh
a
yeah.
YA series, a vampire YA series. Oh my God. My brain is like mush since COVID and my car crash. But let me try to remember. Who was this? Hold on, I'm just gonna pull it up.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
With the amount
But
of books you do, I don't blame you.
it was so violent. But it was violent like the zombie series. What's her name? Or Walking Dead, right? It was like that kind of violence. It was just like guts coming out. Blah, blah, blah. But this girl, this protagonist was so badass and so vulnerable at the same time. And I think those are kind of the books that people give me. They give me like some of the ones because they know I can. You know what someone said to me once? They were like, "You have like that voice that can do the really sad stuff because it sounds like you care." Oh, here it is. Oh, no, no. Oh, my friend. Oh, we did this at CDM, the Vampire World Publishers Pack. Okay, the Vampire World Saga for Podium Audio was such a good series. If anyone wants, like, I don't know why I'm pimping that out, but that was like so amazing. That's not the one I was thinking of though. Who is this?
We do love it when the narrators were telling us about these awesome stories that you guys had so much fun narrating, because we're going, not my genre, but you loved it, so I'm gonna go get it.
You know what I mean? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Well, and I'm known mostly for the Robin Carr, the Virgin River series.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of that on Netflix?
Yes. All of
Tell me
it.
what, or oh yeah, yeah, right. It's like devour. Tell me what you think because I know you've listened to the books as well, yes?
I started the series, so that's become one of those where I saw that it was being made into a series via Netflix, and we all know the book's always better.
Yeah, yeah,
But they've done a
yeah.
really good job with keeping true to the feel of the books, and I think that sometimes that's more important than maybe the full storyline plot as well, just because there's only so much you can do with 8 or 9 episodes in a series in a season
Okay.
versus 300 pages in a book. But yeah, it's just one of those. I started listening. I think I'm starting book 2 soon, because I'm the planner, so I will put things on calendars.
I love how you just put that. Yeah, and they have to do it. They have to pull the stuff out because it's gotta go into 8 episodes of a season. But yeah, man, it's addictive. I was watching it during COVID, and I was like, "Oh my God, the world needs this so hard right now. Like, I can't. Like, we all need a Hallmark."
Right?
Yeah,
It's
man.
like, it's good. You're going to get a little bit of the spiciness in different ways, and you're going to get all
Yeah,
that. And then you're going to scenery, and I'm like, I want to live there. Um,
yeah. Oh my
Come to
God,
find out it's filmed in Canada.
Vancouver is so freaking beautiful,
I
dude. It is
know.
so beautiful. I got to be in did you see me in episode 4 of the first season?
No, I did not know.
I
Don't
was
give
the girl
credit.
that walked into the bar and Paige bumps into and I was like, "Oh my God, you look just like who I went to college with." And
No,
she's like,
that,
"Oh,
oh.
that was me. That was me." I got to, yeah, and I was like, "Oh my God, who are?" And Paige is like, "No, no, no, I'm not who you think." Yeah, I got to audition and play a part on the television, the Netflix series. It was fun.
So how is that? As someone that is been narrating the series for a long time, you are familiar with the characters, you know the author, what their vision is for this series and what they've done with it, and you have an idea of what the characters are like and things like that. To then see it play out in front of you a la Netflix. How is that? What are your
I'm gonna
thoughts on that?
I'm gonna give you, that's a two-part question. So I'm gonna give you what it was like for me as the narrator who brought everybody to life for Robin, and then was on a set in Vancouver and got to walk into Jack's bar, the same bar that I talked about in 40 books, you know, and it was emotional. It was emotional. And then I saw the actor that played Jack, and then I saw the actor that played Preacher, and then I saw Mel, and I was just like, hold on, I was all of you guys. And I got to talk to the actress who played Paige and the actor who played Preacher, and I got to explain to them like what I did, and they're like, "Oh my God, you were everybody, you were all of us." And I thought to myself, yes, I can play one character. It was surreal because as I told the stories of Virgin River and we built up the town with each book brought new characters into this town called Virgin River, and now all of a sudden there's cabins there, that they're then there's new homes and there's a church and there's the bar and there's a we had like a little map at Recorded Books, of like each part of the town that we built. And to show up and see the set brought to life, it was so different from what I had seen in my head. It was so much more modern. Of course it had to be because it has to be for like an audience today. But it was like I was like a this is gonna sound totally cheesy. It was like coming home.
Hmm.
It was like coming home, and I sat with the executive producer in one of the booths in Jack's bar, and it was surreal. That's the only word I can think of. It was surreal. It was like a full circle from Robin Carr's head to the words on the page to the words coming out of my mouth to the words going to everyone that's listening it to it, their ears, to creating this world and this life. And now all of a sudden, now they get to see it visually, right? They had the movie playing out in their heads because
Yeah.
I was bringing it to life for them through my voice. Now they get to see it through their eyes and have a whole nother experience with it. Holy shit. Holy shit. It's like the gift that just keeps on giving. But for the blind people and for the people that can't see the television and can't experience it that way, they got to have it in their heads and they got to bring it. I can't tell you how many emails I received from people that were like, my mother can't see anymore and she can't go to the movies or whatever. She listens to the Virgin River series and it's always playing in the house. And to think, I don't know, I get emotional with it, but to think like, to just think about it though. It's the oldest form of art is the oral tradition. We just tell each other stories. And so I literally was just telling Robin Carr's story and these people were listening to it, like whether they were in a wheelchair or like in a bed, and they got to have their imagination sparked and come to life because of the words that were being read to them and performed for them. Holy shit. And then to go into the next medium, which is acting and set building. And now we get to see it in a whole nother medium now. Like it all started with an idea from Robin's head that she was brave enough to put down on paper and have published so that it could so now it could manifest into all these different things. I know that was a long answer, but
No, I love it. No, you're good. It's I think sometimes we tend to forget that individual, how lucky we are
yeah.
that we live in a world where we get to, hear and see things when we can, because we don't have any issues with sights, or we don't have any kind of thing where we can't. And from a society perspective, nowadays all you hear is, oh my god, when the season starts, or oh my god, did you see we cannot wait until the next season of Bridgerton, or you know fill in the show, kind of a thing. And some people don't have the luxury of being able to see that, and so you kind of feel like you're missing out on something. And to
Mm,
be able to still hear the books that is now being made into a TV show or a movie is something that people sometimes take for granted.
yep. I love that. I used to read, I think when people ask, oh, the book was always better than the movie, or the book was better than that, I say to them, the only book I ever read that they kept the movie so perfectly what the book was, in my opinion, was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Because I read the book and then I sat down and watched the movie and it was almost verbatim. They didn't change anything. They've changed a lot with the Virgin River, right? And again, they've had to. Now, I know you haven't listened to the whole series, but there's this whole thing with Paige. She's on the run and you find out why and blah, blah, blah. But like, they had to, again, bring it to modern and also make it cliffhanger for each episode that ends, but you'll watch the next episode. And so that's different from a 300-page book. Yeah, that's different. It has to be different because it's TV now. They have a formula to follow as well. So, and speaking of formula, do you notice, being a romance fan, fanatic fan, JK fan, that it's very formulaic, isn't it? The romance books.
I think it gets a bad rap, as far as the formula aspect of it, and because it's always looked at from a romance perspective, but also
Oh, in a
some,
good way. I think in a
yeah,
good way. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
But I also think that it happens in every genre outside too,
Yes.
because in order for it to be classified a murder mystery, a
Mm-hmm.
murder has to happen, and there's got to be a mystery to it. Who done it, how they do it. The journey varies on to how things get to the end, but there's got to be specific things that it needs to have in order for it to be classified under that genre. And
Mm.
then you'll have the added bonus of, when it comes to romance, the listeners are reading for an escape purpose. They want to have the
Right.
happily ever after. So we all know, because if it doesn't have a happy ending, people, sorry, it's not a romance.
Mm.
That happily for now is okay. But I mean, they don't have to get married and have 5 kids by the end of the book, but I want to know that they're together at least, for sure.
That's what I want to talk about. I want
Yeah.
to talk about that. Why? Now, Robin didn't do that. Robin
No.
Carr didn't do that. She doesn't have, but when I read a lot of romance as Savannah or GC, it's whether it's in the epilogue or it's at the very end, they're all getting married.
I
And
think
I'm
it
very curious about that. Go ahead. I'm curious about your thoughts.
I think it goes back to us being little girls and and having us be fed the princess, gets rescued by the hero and they lived happily ever after, and the end scene with wedding vows
That's
kind of a thing.
100% right. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it
Yes, me
because
neither. Good.
there
Go
is
ahead.
one of the things I loved about Robin's story is that whole she struggled with getting pregnant and she struggled after losing the baby
That's
and
right.
stuff like that. As someone that has gone through that loss,
Hmm.
you know, when I see the happily ever after and they popped out 5 kids and I'm like, are you trying to say that for those of us that we can't be happy?
Hmm.
Or also the whole thing that, we are trying to escape and we don't need to have all the gory details, because as someone that's gone through it, I know what it's like. But it brings some form of reality to that. I, as someone that either has a trauma because they were a victim of some form of abuse, or someone that may have had a terrible accident and now has to go through stuff, whether it's rehab, relearning how to do things, as you know, with your recent accident and stuff like that. But there's also other things that go into it, mental, physical stuff. For you guys, for the individuals like that to be able to say, and she lived happily ever after, what that happily ever after is different for all of us. It could be, I just got the guy. Or I had the guy and then I was able to still be me and move to France and open up my bakery. you know
Yes.
yeah, that whole, it just goes back to that very old fashioned thinking of guy meets girl, girl becomes happy with guy, guy proposes, they get married, they have kids, happily ever after, done. And with I think that we're starting to learn that it's okay to have a happily ever after for now, or that what that happily ever after varies for each individual couple.
Oh, that's so good. That's so, so good. Yeah, that's the part that I loved about doing the Virgin River series is that she dealt with like real issues, right? With like losing pregnancies and, and then especially the part where the guys were, veterans and dealing with PTSD with that. And also she dealt with like the younger kids. I told her, I said, because she wrote the Thunder Point series and then the Sullivan's Crossing series. And I said, Robin, you do, and she told me, she said she had a really dear friend who was a therapist, right? And they would talk about like the relationships and stuff, but you could tell because that's the biggest compliment that she received is they're people all of us would know, and their relationships all of us would know and all of us have been through. And so that's the part that I want to see, like, if fucking you get married, yeah, great, you get married in the epilogue, but then like give me another epilogue and tell me like now what are they dealing with in their marriage? Are they in counseling? Probably, right? Like write the second
Does she
book.
have to constantly remind herself that orange is not her color?
You know what I mean? I'm
And that
just like,
even though no one would blame her.
yes. I'm like, come on now, come on. That's not because we all grow up and we're like, oh my gosh, marriage and babies is the goal, and then you'll be fine. No, that's when life gets really difficult. That's when stuff gets really hard. Write the book starting from them getting married and the first baby, like, and
And
talk about
keeping
what,
up with that. Yeah. Like,
yes,
yeah. How
yes,
romantic is it when you
and
go out to dinner?
postpartum, and yes,
And
trying to keep
yeah,
up date night and all that.
yeah,
Yes.
my favorite is when you're like, hey, we're gonna do date night. All right, we're gonna do date night because we need to focus on us as a relationship because we're
I
the
know.
couple. And then you go and you're in a romantic setting, candlelights are, are lit, the food is fantastic, the music is going, and you're looking at each other saying, so listen, that bill that's coming up, I need to we have got to do something about Tommy because yeah, he's becoming a teenager and no, that's not working out for me anymore.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You lose yourself a bit, I think, as you get older in relationships, even though people will say, and I agree, that the reason why we do romance is we're going to escape our reality. So not many of us would not want to read about that couple that's going through counseling because they probably are
Yes.
going through it themselves.
Yes.
But you also learned that you had a kink because you read, a specific book, and now you're exploring that, or you realize that you want to go to France, and explore a country that you had no interest except for croissants, because of
Oh, wow.
how the what you saw through the characters, because of how the author, the words.
That's
And so
right.
there's different things that you can see that, reminding yourself that this is why you fell in love with this person, even though they leave their shit everywhere, um and or that you don't look good in orange, and or having the struggle that, what, it's okay, I cannot have children the traditional, way. That does not mean that I'm a less of a woman, that I don't deserve to be loved, that I don't need to have that happily ever after, and that that's going to vary. And if I decide to be a mom, what does that look like? And I think that that's something that's, that series that Robin did brilliantly,
Yeah,
is acceptance of someone that you're with, and knowing their boundaries,
that's right.
and saying, hey, if you're going to be with me, great, but this is who I am.
Yep.
This is what is going to happen. If you, and using the kids as an example, we're going to have to look at different options, adoption,
Yep. Yep.
and that's okay.
100%. 100%. Or I can't have kids and I'm gonna grieve that loss. And then
Yes.
I'm gonna see what it's like to be a 46-year-old woman in this world that is basically like my only job is to breed, right? But I'm not. So what am I doing? And giving women that aren't in that cookie cutter kind of like idea hope and joy and acceptance, like yes, we're still fabulous, awesome, beautiful, creative people even without the marriage and the babies or whatever it is that. Yes, and I'm not taking away, like yes, that is super fun for a lot of people, and that's what they want the happily ever after, they want the princess, the prince, whatever. That's awesome. And let's also have the real stuff in there. So look, apparently you and I need to start rating books. Like we need to I don't know why we're still talking. We need to
Yeah,
get busy.
I know. But I also love that when she talks about veterans and the fact that they have, they went in with a particular thought process as far as why they wanted to be a soldier and protect the country that they're from, and things like that, and what they go through, that shifts sometimes.
Yeah,
And then they're, when they come home, what they have to deal with, and how we as a
that's right.
society don't take care of them as they should be taken care of,
That's exactly right.
and
Yeah,
they're not provided with the necessary, um anything from, getting back into, day-to-day stuff. I mean, when you go into the army and you're abroad, or even if it's just boot camp, you're going through a different schedule, you're going through things that are different, and then you come home and it's like, oh, what do you mean I have to get used to you now being you, the now you versus who you left you? And that's not talked about, you know
so I will never ever say that I know what they endure over, like going to a whole nother country and experiencing what they experience. What I can say is that after almost getting killed in a car crash and the car blowing up and getting like removed from the car by random strangers, and then I that was my closest experience to, my mom just kept saying over and over again, like, you're a soldier, you're a soldier, like, you're like one of these veterans, you're like one of these veterans. I was just like, no, I'm not. Like, I never shot a gun, I never did any of that. But the truth is, like, I'm not the same in the world anymore, and I never will be. When you endure something that extreme and that tragic, and then as soon as they got me out of the car, both cars exploded and other explosions were happening. I mean, it was a war scene. It was literally like just explosion after explosion. Telephone poles came down. Like this is what was told to me. I don't, I was in and out, in and out, and the fact that I'm even here and that I'm alive, but that I'm handicapped now. I have a right leg and I've got arms and a belly that were all cut open and bones were sticking out. Sorry to be graphic, but they come home and they've got prosthetics and they've got like, but I'm not walking the same. I go down and try to walk my dog and it's, I'm limping and I'm gimping, and it's a reckoning with myself that I know that they probably have to have as well. And I'm not saying I know the level. Their level is like times 100, right?
yeah.
But I they're not the same, and we don't treat them right. And I had an influx of people in the beginning, you know, and now I'm at that quiet time, right? And they go through it too. You see them, you see the veterans in the wheelchairs, like selling pencils or like, you know, doing this kind of stuff. And it's my girlfriend and her husband have a nonprofit called Rags of Honor. And it's to give veterans an opportunity to be employed and to work again. And they're based out of Chicago. And their motto is coming home shouldn't be the hardest part of war. You know what I mean? I think that's right. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I deeply apologize, Kip. But it's the point what you're making, right? And I'm not sure where we went, how this we got on this tangent, but oh yeah, I do, because we're talking about after,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
how do we continue to support each other, and how do we continue to hold each other up no matter what we go through, whether it's a car accident, whether it's a war. And Robin, I got to tell you, playing some of those scenes with all of those guys at Jack's bar, there's like six guys she would put in these scenes, like talking about, you know, like war and like different things. And I remember being so frustrated because I'm like, God, I need like someone to have an accent or something so I can differentiate. But it was this brotherhood and it was this camaraderie, right? And the women had it too. And so I think I honor Robin for bringing
To
that,
light.
yeah. And then for me to be able to bring it to life, and now the series to be able to bring it to life. It's really
No,
cool.
and thank you for sharing. I know that's wanted to see about having that conversation about what happened to you, because it was very public in the romance industry, with a lot of your, you know, narrator peers and friends telling us what happened. And then when it came down to raising funds to help you be
Mm,
able to do stuff and just do your struggles
so
and how
grateful.
things would change for you, because a lot of times people don't think, oh, that you should just be grateful you survived. And
Thank
while
you.
you
Thank
might be,
you.
you're now, this is an entire new you and an entire new life, and you have to relearn a lot of things, and not just maybe how to hold a fork and a knife, but how to react to different things and how to deal with people in your life that don't understand that you're different, that you are now a new you know. And so I thank you so much for sharing, and we can dive deeper into that. But I think that that's also where a lot of the romance community sometimes falters a little bit. I love the romance community. I will always say that. And it's a great group of individuals. But sometimes they just want that happily ever after and don't stop to think about what comes after, or what that happily ever after looks different to different people. But they're also the first ones to bust out with a bully romance or a mobster. So it's like they go into dark romance, and I'm like, girl, you would not, I know you will not put up with that bullshit in your life. And they're busting out with, but it's an escapism. And I'm like, okay, well, the escapism, if it's okay for you to be you know, all turned on because he's you know, talking down to her, and not from a king perspective, but just because he's an asshole, you know,
Talk
then
it.
you
Speak.
got you got
Yes.
to be okay with talking about things that are in real life aspect, but seeing how it's handled and seeing how we could have handled it differently, or how we could have taken it differently. And
Mm,
there have been aspects too sometimes where there's been a you know, scenario with a that I've gone through something and they don't understand. I've handed them a book that I know talked about that or hit that notes that I was like, aha, that I cannot put it into words, but she did great. Read this. And they go, oh. So it
mm.
could also be a good tool to have about, you know, having these difficult conversations and realizing that it's okay to be different, but accepting who I am because of what I went through.
I love that. Oh man, this is such a good conversation. This is, yeah, and let me just give a shout out to fantasy and to that escapism as being like a really healthy, fun one. I don't know, healthy, but fun. It's a fun one. And because it doesn't have to be serious all the time, we do need like to be like, oh shit, yeah, happily ever after. But here's the problem. When your husband walks through the door, your partner walks through the door, and they're not like the fucking perfect person that you just finished reading in a romance novel. What happens then, right? It's like are we able to translate it into then does it remain fun, or do we need it to be our actual reality, right? But we
Or
could,
how do you go about making it your reality?
yes, queen,
Because it's the
yes.
truth. Who you married and felt goo goo gaga over 20 years ago, someone that's been married for that long and been with them, you realize, because I've said it out loud, you are not the same person.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Previous you would not be doing this right now, kind of fill in the blank. But you learn that people change with time, just like I have. I'm sure that he's looking at me sometimes saying, God, you're still perfect, but that's a little different, isn't it? I'm just kidding. Because we've all changed, and I've changed because of stuff that's happened to me and as an individual and to us as a couple. And I think it's similar to learning that you have a kink. And so that's where I talk about the sex aspect of things. As a reader of romance, there have been times where I'm going, ooh, highlight, pass it over to the partner and say, read, learn tonight. Oh
Really?
yeah, because you realize that sounds good, or hey, we haven't done that one, or like, hey, let's do this.
I
And
love that. That's
yeah,
amazing. I've never heard anyone say that like out
oh
loud. That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's because people tend to have sex as a taboo subject, and people don't
I
talk about
know
it openly, which is ridiculous in my eyes.
in
But
our
I yeah, and I get it too. But I'm going. This is also why it's okay to, you can say it. Maybe you don't want to verbalize, or you don't know how to, right?
that's right.
Highlighting what it is that you're wanting because they described it that way, or you want to experience it that way, allows, and you're providing a tool and a manual. And even though men are not known for reading manuals, it's different. It's different. But
So
sharing what you want, I think that's something that your partner craves and wants to satisfy you in any aspect of life. That as long as they know, I think that's a part of the conversation in therapy. Like, I didn't know, she never told me, she never
mhm,
explained to me that that is what she meant.
mhm.
Highlighting chapter 4 paragraph 3 totally works, but that also works for having these difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Having that moment where you do plan date night because it was your turn to plan, and you make everything work out great, but he's late. Or everything works out, you're at the restaurant, you're eating your favorite meal, but all you realize that you're talking about are the day-to-day stuff that's not you as a couple. Being able to highlight maybe that in a chapter and just say, hey honey, I just went real quick, can you read this and stuff like that. I couldn't put into words, but this is what I'm talking about.
Mm.
It makes it also a little bit of a disconnect that he's not going to take personally, or they're not going to take personally, that it's an attack on
That's right.
them.
That's so cool. That's
It,
such a good perspective.
yeah, that helps. And I think sometimes too, how characters handle certain things. Since you and I are writing a book,
Yes.
I want the heroine to quack at the hero. They've been married for a few years,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden she starts quacking, quack, 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 quack. And he's trying to figure out why the fuck she's quacking. And if he does something or doesn't do something or whatever, he walks in the door, and as he's going blah blah to the kitchen, all he hears is quack, 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 quack. And then he finally says, all right honey, I love you, and if we need to get you some help, just but why the quacking? And for her to bust out with, because you're like a duck and you leave your shit everywhere. And have her explain that shoes go in the closets, not in a place where it's right there in the middle and they're tripping over things when they're coming in with a handful of groceries or trying to get the kids
Mm.
in line, or that they couldn't find something and then spend 30 minutes looking for that one thing that if they would only have put it back where it belongs.
Mm.
And now, because they had that difficult conversation, which was funny because she's fucking quacking.
Right.
But now it becomes code that when something happens and she goes quack, quack, he knows. Nothing else needs to be said. Nothing needs to get into deeper conversation. It does not become the you should know better conversation. How many years have you been together and you still put the keys where they don't belong?
Mm.
That are these things that, because we change with time, and it just
Mhm.
could be your mental moment. If you had a bad day at work and you realize that you were low on gas and you just made it, and the AC, fill in the blanks, and the first thing you walk in the door and you forget to put your keys where they belong or something away, to have that conversation of how many years have we been together, and you still, all you gotta do is just go quack, 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 quack.
Oh, so cute. So cute.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. But those are the things that sometimes you learn by reading and learning how a character, can you imagine that in romance? Quack, 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 quack.
Oh my God.
You
So
know,
funny.
it's like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's providing people with an opportunity to have these difficult conversations, and to have the ones that are like, I want to try this kink out, or I want to try this, say this to me, take me out. I want to go to this restaurant because it's similar to what this book said, you know.
So great.
It's important. Yeah. But also, I mean, you have gone through a lot yourself in the past year. For those that may not have known, she mentioned it a little before, she was in a really bad car accident because of a drunk driver. This could have ended her life. She was fortunate enough to survive, but there's a lot of things that have gone through it. I mean, there's physical therapy, emotional aspect of things, and it's just a lot. And you've been sharing your journey with everyone on social media, and that also, talk about vulnerable. And so thank you for putting yourself out there and showing us the good, and and all the good stuff that you've always done in life, but also sharing with us that it's okay when things happen, and to be true to yourself, and to be to share that as well. Today's social media, everybody's on vacation, everybody's eating the filet mignon, and everything is great. And people are like, but why not me? And the reality is that it's called filters. They don't look that good, and it's a backdrop. They're not at the beach.
God, oh my God.
Right. And you know what, it's okay for you to have a moment of a mental breakdown. It's okay to have a moment where you're saying, hey, this is what's going on in my life right now, and you took us through your entire journey of your ups and downs, and putting a human spin on what are the consequences when you choose to drink and drive.
God. Well, he's in jail waiting for sentencing, and I was able to ask the prosecutor to please advocate that he go and wait in jail until he's sentenced, because for 10 months he's been at home, I don't know, drinking and smoking, and I've been trying to learn how to walk again, and I just didn't think that was fair. So he's in jail now, but yeah, I don't know why I did that. To be honest with you, I have no fucking idea why Oh, I do, because I had a GoFundMe that people were so. I am still in awe. I can't believe the generosity that came pouring in. I'm speechless about that. It allowed me to live and not work for a minute, because I couldn't get to my studio. I couldn't walk, and it just. But the support that came pouring out of the audiobook community, it's like nothing I ever experienced before in my life. It's such an isolating job, and you do know people are listening, but it wasn't until I was in that hospital and flowers coming in from publishers and messages and notes, and I just felt an obligation to let y'all know, here's what's happening, here's where we're at. And yeah, I have this. I mean, I am an actor, but the crash kind of crashed out the need to please, to make it pretty, to put the filter on. I just don't have the energy anymore. And so to see, I wanted you guys to see me at physical therapy. I wanted you to see I was working at this, and that you donate money sometimes and you never know what happens to the person. You're just like, well, what? I hope she's okay, right? And I don't know. I just wanted you guys to know, yeah, it still is really hard. He changed my life forever. I was hiking with my dog. I was at the ocean with my dog. I can barely walk my dog more than a mile, and I can't. He physically altered my life, but what the gift that I got from this crash is that it's the only time I've ever been able, because I had to sit still, sit still and just be and breathe. I couldn't move in my hospital bed, right? For like 6 weeks. Like they had to roll me over and bathe me. And
Yeah. And it's hard as an independent individual that has used to taking care of yourself for so long. Things like,
so independent,
you
so
know,
independent. But
picking up
also
the
like,
glass to drink because you're thirsty at that moment. You can't
yeah,
do now.
yeah, I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't fucking get up and go to the bathroom. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to get out of bed and go to the effing bathroom. And I couldn't do it because I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. And yeah, man, the shit you take for granted. Right?
Yeah,
Happening.
literally.
Yeah, right. And so I was like, okay, like I don't take that for granted at all today. Like I'm just, and to be able to have that, I don't know how long I'm going to be alive, but I'm supposed to still be here because I was supposed to die there. Like I had enough doctors tell me like, how are you still here? Like I was hit head on, 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, hit head on. All I know is I was driving, I was listening to the Dr. Death podcast, and I was going to meet my sister and my niece for sushi. And the next thing I know, something is like, Therese, 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 hey, Therese. And I thought it was me saying it over and over again. And I was crunched like a potato chip. And I opened my eyes, and the next thing I heard was, we got to get her out. And three guys pulled me out of this car, which was on fire. I didn't know. The engine was like on my leg. I didn't know. And pulled me out. And then we're like, we have to move her again. And then they were cutting my jeans off to tie a tourniquet around my leg. I don't know, girl. It was just crazy. And then
Mhm.
I got into the hospital, and because I was listening to the Dr. Death
Oh
podcast,
God.
I was like, please don't hurt me, please, the Dr. Death podcast. And I thought I was talking normal, but apparently I had bit down on my inside of my mouth, and so I was just like blah, 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 blah. But I mean, I made sense to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And then
that that happens.
7 different surgeries began, and I
Mhm.
mean, they had my stomach open, they had my legs, my elbow, bones were sticking out everywhere. I was like, still thinking in my head, I was thinking, I wonder what sushi roll I'm gonna get. Like I still thought I was going for dinner. I thought I was gonna get like a stitch or two. Like I had no, because your body goes into survival mode. This is what I didn't realize. And when you're in shock, it's so interesting. And I think I'm going to say this right now, that I am just now coming out of shock. I am just now, and that's why I'm walking right now, and I'm not still in a wheelchair, because the survival mode that I went into was so intense. I was like, no, I walk. And then I tried to get out of the bed and I tried to walk, and I started sobbing because I couldn't, everything hurt so much and I couldn't walk. And I remember my sister was standing there and she's like, it's going to be okay. And I was like, I don't understand. So that's been my journey, is connecting my mind and my body and my spirit again, and just being really, really, really nice to myself right now,
Mhm.
because my brain is not the nicest place.
Oh.
She's like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, bitch, I can't. Like, I'm
Did you
trying.
not get the memo?
So yeah, that's been, yeah. And
Yeah.
my Instagram got hacked. And
Oh, I
so
know,
I haven't
yeah.
been, yeah, right. But it's actually kind of cool because I took that as a sign. I was like, okay, so we'll just live. Like, who
Mhm.
cares? Like, it's all good. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. My niece has someone that works for Instagram that's gonna try to send me an email eventually at some place and help me get that. But honestly, who cares? Like, who cares? I'll post to the GoFundMe so you guys can all know what's happening, and that goes to Facebook or whatever, and I'll let you know what's going on. But social media. I mean, I know it connects us all, and I know we're here, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's we have forgotten that there is more to what we're seeing.
Mm,
And whether that's the happy face, and if all we're getting is happy, something's not right there.
yeah,
you know, it's like
yeah,
but it's selective sharing is what I call it. Selective sharing. People will only share when things are good. Others will also share only when things are bad. We all have different mindsets and our brains work differently, and what we want out of it. There's some individuals that want to have the center of attention, and it's like, oh, woe is me, and people run. And then there's always that happy-go-lucky person that the moment that they have a down and they try to share, some people are like, you're exaggerating. That's not really how it happened. And you're going, bitch, did you live this? No. And it's just one of those things that people don't stop to think that there's a real person behind that account. And that's why I always tell authors and narrators, have a business account where you can share all the fun stuff that you're doing and give me some of that oral goodies. Because we like the oral goodies, and that's just the fact that you got cast in a book and that you signed a contract versus some of anything else, and it's like fill in the blank. But know that that's your business account. So us, we know that it's business, and hold yourself accountable that you are a business as a narrator, and as an author, you are your business. You are reflective of your brand. So what you say matters. How you say it matters. Who you support. I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about people. Also matters. And then add the different layers, belief systems, politics, and stuff like that. We are entitled to what we want, and we should be able to separate what we do in our personal life with what we do in our business life. But I think sometimes people forget that they think that that's all we're getting is that person as an individual. And that is all what we should be getting. And because you were sharing all this other cool stuff that's happening to you, and then boom, life.
Was it too much?
No. As someone, so I have not been in your shoes as far as someone that's gotten into an accident and survived, but my mom was. And I was 13. She was on her way to pick us up from school to take us, because it was our birthday weekend. And I say we because I have an identical twin sister. She was going to pick us up. And at the last minute, she decided to go to the bank first for whatever reason. And this is where I say sometimes stuff happens for a reason and we don't know it. Otherwise, we would have been in the car with her. But she decided to go to the bank first and get the money. And it was one of those roads where it's 4 lanes in one direction, 4 lanes in another direction, and going under construction, as it happens in Miami all the time. And they weren't paying attention, and she was in the right of way. She was waiting to turn into the shopping plaza, and she got rammed on her side of the car, head on that way. Literally, that it was like a fortune cookie, the car, whoosh. And it was one of those things that, similar to you, the doctors had no freaking clue how she survived. And
that's unreal. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I, again, was 13. And so I had to learn that my mom was in this accident, learn everything that was going on, and then help her day-to-day stuff, from going to the bathroom to feeding her through a syringe because her mouth was shut with wires. And then as time progressed, for her to cry, to say, I just want a burger. And not in the blender, Viviana. I just want a Burger King burger with cheese, things like that we take for granted. Painting her nails and her toenails, she couldn't do any of that stuff. And as a teenager, looking back at it now as an adult, there were moments too that I was like, oh, why can't she just do it herself? Viviana, bitch, because she couldn't. And it's your traditional teenage moments, but then you fixed it and stuff like that. And
how is she today?
She was better. She like you, she was a fighter. So as you're sharing your story, I was like, yes, girl, you can do this. You'll be able to do this. I know you can, because I saw my mom go through it. She was an active runner, an active swimmer. She was in martial arts and things like that. And she couldn't do a lot of that stuff immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was so hard on her because she's like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And
that's
it was
exactly
because of
how I feel.
and someone else's stupidity.
Yeah.
And someone else's choice that they chose to get behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And they chose to not abide by the rules. I now have to deal with all this. And for her, she was like, it's not only impacting her, but it's impacting us, her 3 kids, and her husband and stuff like that. We lived in a townhouse where we were on the 2nd floor, and so we were living like the kitchen and the living room were all on the 2nd floor of the building. but our bedrooms were then on the third floor. So stairs and stairs and stairs. She could not do stairs. So she was ending, she moved in with her brother, which was in the apartment complex across the street. But for her to not be with her family was emotional detrimental. So we would stay over and take turns, sleeping over and taking, just so she has that there in case she needed somebody or something, or just that familiarity, you know. So as I saw you go through all your stuff, I saw a lot of that energy that my mom had in getting back to a better self for herself, a
That's
better version
amazing.
of herself. Yeah. And she ended up, being able to talk again. And, as soon as those wires came out and she was able, because, her jaw was broken in several places, her collarbone as well. The first thing that she ate was a Burger King burger. And she's like, it is the best burger ever.
I love her. I love her. But see, those are the kind of stories that started to come in, and it just helped me not feel so alone because I've never been through anything like this before. And it's almost like if you are courageous enough, like listen to the story you just shared back with me. You like know exactly how it feels, and you know how it feels to be the soldier with the wounded person, like helping her along the way and the rest of your family. I appreciate you sharing that with me so much. You have no idea. And so, may I ask, I'm not even a year out of my crash. Is she back to being a little more active?
So this was many years ago. She is no longer with us. She passed away about 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
but I will tell you, she was always a happy-go-lucky, life is the best. It was amplified of not taking anything for granted. I'm
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
spending the time with the family, figuring things, the bills, they'll be there tomorrow. But making the most out of her day-to-day life. And she went back to running. She got her black belt in Goju Ryu. And and she was able to get back to quote unquote normal within a couple of a year to 2 years. But there's also a lot of psychological stuff that happens,
Yeah,
you
there
know
is. There
and
is.
and people sometimes don't stop to think about that, because like, why do you have any issues? You survived, and now look at you, you're walking. Granted, it's not as what you know what I mean. I'm sure you've heard it.
Yeah.
If you haven't, unfortunately you may. And this is also where you guys going to go through the screen and bitch slap someone across the head for thinking that. But a lot of things happen that are, similar to the soldiers when they come back from war. There's a lot of PTSD that's happening, whether it's, oh my God, my kids are now going to be 16 and they're driving. And what if they have, so we were, where are you going? How, okay, what time are you going to get there? And if we did not check in, she thought the worst,
Yeah.
that we got into a car accident and that they were alone and stuff like that. She also, every year on that date, would make sure that she took it, even though the crew changed, but it was from the same fire department and paramedic department. She would send them Dunkin' Donuts or send them a catered lunch and things like that, just for her to share the thank you, because like you, she was cut out of the car.
That's a great
uh
idea. Yeah.
and it's just showing her gratefulness to those individuals and those in that line of work, because I think we take them for granted as
Yeah.
well. We appreciate that they're there for us, but we're like, until you need them.
Yeah.
Then it becomes like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I also learned a lot from her about appreciating those small moments that you have with each other, and appreciating those individuals that risk their lives to help you and things like that, because they're the ones also running into the building of fire, or into the the car that's on fire to get you out.
Yeah, that's a great place to kind of close up our talk because I was really I've been thinking about how do I spend that first anniversary, right? And my ex-husband was like, we're gonna go to Philly and we're gonna climb those steps that Rocky did, and we're gonna do that. And I there was a part of me that's like, maybe I think you need to do that. I'm not sure what I need to do. And I have friends that are like, we're gonna, and you just literally put it in my lap. I'm gonna send my surgeon, I'm gonna send it to her office, a gift, and then I don't know who the paramedics were, but it's Hackensack Hospital, so I can do something over there. And the homicide detective that pulled me out of the car and I held his hand the whole time. He and I have been emailing. We can't talk that much because it's the case is still open, but I'm gonna that day I was so nervous. I was like, oh God, how am I gonna Yeah, if I
Yeah.
make it about everyone that helped me, I think it's going to make it so much better. Thank you,
Yeah.
Viviana. Thank you.
Huh. Yeah. I think that sometimes we
Yeah.
try to make others happy as far as maybe going to Philly and doing those stairs. But how are you going to feel if halfway up there you can't because you're physically not in the, you can't, but mentally adds to that physical block, right? How are you going to feel? That's not a way to celebrate. That's not what you want. So
That's
even if
right.
you wanted to stay in bed and read a book and just go, I am grateful for being here. That is fine.
Mm,
That is
wow.
okay. And that does not take away from anything. You are here, you are a survivor, you are a hard worker that did not give up. And by sharing your story, there are other people out there that are going through something similar, whether it's a car accident, whether it's depression, whether it's postpartum depression, whether it's just like, why am I here? Why am I here? Nothing's going my way. Why do I bother? Seeing your story and seeing how you survived and how you continue to move forward, knowing that that journey is going to be different for you than it was before the crash, but you're still moving. That's what's important.
I'm going to write it. It's been percolating. I'm just afraid. And you just gave me the biggest gift I've ever received. And I hope you can feel me coming through
Yeah.
the recording and hugging you so,
Yeah.
so, so tight. I'm just hugging you. We're still
Aw.
hugging. It's still happening.
Yep. I feel it. Funny.
You
I
know
mean,
those,
people play up like, oh yeah, I'm such an empath, but I am an empath. I feel what's
yeah,
going on
yeah, you
around me,
do.
and
Yeah, you are.
yeah, and I know that it's hard, and I know that people have expectations of us, and it's inclusive of our family, and they mean well. They truly do mean well. They just sometimes don't know what to say. So
Yeah.
like, even that saying, oh, well, things happen for a reason. Yeah, sure. Like I know things happen for a reason, but explain to me why this. I got the memo years ago about appreciating my time on this earth.
Yeah.
But so that's where I say that we have to, and then you're doing it the right way. You are giving yourself permission to just be in the moment and expecting and knowing that things are different. Your journey is still you are still who you are, but the path is going to look a little different, you know and those that are going to walk along with it are going to have to walk a little slower and are going to have to follow you where you want to go to be part of your life. And if they don't, they can stay back there. You keep walking, you keep moving forward.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for this talk and thank
Mm-hmm.
you for being exactly who you are. What a
Aw.
light in the world you are. It has been an absolute joy talking with you today. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Well,
much.
thank you. And I know we got off the topic of books, but at the end of the day, we are human beings.
No, it
And
was perfect.
yeah, and it's just kind of like focusing on you. It's who you are. You are this fantastic, gifted, talented individual that can totally provide us with the escape of being in this little town, or being in that murder mystery, or being in that vampire world, and having those moments where like, dude, there are 6 guys at that bar and I know that is just her because according to this title it's narrated by just the one person, but I swear I'm hearing 5 or 6 different guys there.
It's so
I
great.
swear. Like,
Yes.
don't lie to me, people. Who else did you have in the booth with you? Uh, and it just, you provide us with that escapism and stuff like that. So being able to just talk to you has always been a privilege, and being able to sit here and be your cheerleader and say, you go girl, you
Oh,
move that
it
thing,
means the world. It
yeah.
means so much. Thank you.
Yeah. I do have a couple fun questions if you still have time for me.
I have a couple more minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ask.
So as when we all have that one song in our life that it doesn't matter what mood you may have been in. If you're in, if you're running around doing housework, or you're just sitting and you just hear them, even as a part of a commercial nowadays, those songs come up and we're like the it thing, are now in commercials, girl, or insurance policies. But anyways, when that song comes up, what is that song for you that you're just like singing at the top of your lungs, or you're doing a little shimmy shimmy dance?
It's a beautiful day. Who sings that one? Who sings It's a Beautiful Day?
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, it's a beautiful day. Is that, yeah, that's the one I love. And I can't
Yeah.
think of who sings it right now, but yeah,
Isn't it you? Is it you too? Or is
they
it you?
might have a version of it, or
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was like Chris Martin or something. I don't
Could
know.
be. But I know the popular version is the YouTube version.
Oh yeah, it's totally you two. What am I talking about? Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
that's definitely a good groovy song. And then a good reminder too that, like I said, even if you're grocery shopping, that comes on aisle 9.
Oh my God. She
That
starts
little,
to it a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of the shimmy shimmy and stuff like that. And then so
Oh,
yeah, the purpose of me asking that question is that my plan is to add it to my phone. So when you and I get together and hang out, whether it's at a book signing or getting over some coffee to hang out, that song, but I'm going, I want to see it. I want to hear you because it's fun.
oh, so cool. I love it.
And you do work with words all day. What is your favorite word? Not a curse word, because that's the second part of this question.
Oh my goodness. What is my favorite word? Compartmentalize. I like saying it. I like the P. I like the compartmentalize. I like mental, maybe because mental's in it.
But even how
Compartmentalize.
you said it, that first compartmentalized. There was like a bunch of different syllables, but also different meanings behind each part. I was like, love it. That's a good word. That's a good word. What about your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
No second guessing here, people.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh, perfect. Well, before we go, why don't you tell us what you're currently working on that you can share and what's coming up next for you that we can add to our library of wish lists?
Oh man, this is, well, just again, I just want to thank you. You are such an absolute light in the world, and being able to talk to you today was just fantastic. Okay, currently working on A Woman with Two Shadows
Ooh.
for Audible. And oh God, I have a really scary one coming up called Slender Man, about that case. So that's super scary. And then I'm also doing a Dark Angel series for Blackstone, Dark Angel Mercenary series. It's kind of like, yeah, it's a sci-fi series, and she's a badass chick with like pink hair, purple hair. She's just like taking out all the crazy aliens in space. So we've got a couple things happening all at once. Do I have any romance? I don't think I have any romance coming out right now. I can't remember. My memory has really been affected by the crash. And so, I mean, I couldn't remember shit before. But now, I can't believe I just remembered all those projects that I'm
Yeah.
working on.
No,
So it's
I mean, you
amazing.
guys are totally like always. That's something too. Sometimes people will get and say, I can't believe that they could not tell us what's coming out. Like, I go, girl, because by the time they're
Yeah,
done and that book releases, 15 books have already been
that's
recorded.
right. That's right. Oh my God, you
So
get it. You get it. What
yeah.
was the second part of that question? So what I'm working on, and then did I answer all of it?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being part of this year's Audiobook Lovin series and taking the time to chat and share you with us.
Oh man. And June is audiobook month. We're gonna have the
Yeah.
best month ever. And June 11th is the 1 year anniversary of this crash. And just know, on that day, you gave me the best gift in the world of learning what I can do in order to balance out the emotions that are sure to come that day, by
Oh
giving
yeah.
back and thanking everyone that kept me alive. Thank you
Mhm.
for that.
Oh, I'm always here. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that as a celebratory situation, but I think that it's a good moment to just give thanks,
Yeah,
that you're here,
yeah,
and also those that help you be able to be here.
yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Mom, for that idea too. And
Yeah.
for showing me that's the kind of life that you want to live too. So
So
thank you
good.
for that. Everyone, thank you for hanging out with us today. And we hope you've enjoyed this chat as well as the series. Please make sure to follow her on social media. We will be including all those links, and hopefully she can get out of hacked jail Instagram. But we'll figure that out. We will provide you all the links over at Audiobook Lovin series landing page at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.